In this small series, I'll be walking you through the full process of how I take this 3D printed witchy frog from a raw FDM print all the way to a smooth, fully painted finished piece. In this part 3 of the series, I'll be airbrushing a black base coat onto the witchy frog model. This step is super important because the base coat sets the foundation for all the colors and shading that come later on. I ran into a little problem right away. The paint was a bit too thick. Instead of pausing the video and fixing it off camera, I decided to keep recording and show the full struggle I had trying to spray it. The show must go on. Sometimes things don't go perfectly during a project, and that's totally normal, especially when working with an airbrush. The paint mix can easily be off by just a few drops, and that's enough to cause issues with how it sprays. In this case, the paint was coming out a little chunky and uneven, making it harder to get those smooth, even passes I usually aim for. You'll see me adjusting my distance, air pressure, and angle while trying to make the best of it. I tried to keep the airbrush moving steadily to avoid splattering or pooling in one area. Even though it wasn't spraying perfectly, I wanted to show that you can still push through and make it work without having to restart the whole process. Normally, when this happens, I'd stop and add a bit more thinner or flow improver to get the right consistency. But since I was already recording, I figured this was a good learning moment. These little mistakes happen, and they're part of the process. You'll notice in the video that I take a few test sprays off to the side to see if the paint starts flowing better. It's a balancing act. Too thin and it runs, too thick and it clogs. I also tap the trigger lightly to control how much paint comes out while keeping the air pressure constant. Even with the rough start, I managed to get enough coverage to continue the base coat. It's not perfect, but it's good enough to build on later once we add more layers and shading. The important thing is to keep going and not let small setbacks stop you from finishing the piece. By showing this, I wanted to keep things real. It's not always smooth sailing when painting or airbrushing. Sometimes you just have to adapt on the spot, and that's how you really learn what works and what doesn't. So yeah, this part is all about dealing with those little hiccups that come up during painting. Stick around to see how I fix it in the next step and keep the project moving forward. Because even when things don't go as planned, the show must go on.